फैडरल ओपोजिशन के लीडर पीयर पॉलीवर ने प्रैस कॉन्फ्रेंस की टोरंटो जिस एथनिक मीडिया शामिल होया। उन्होंने मीडिया के सवाल लिते और जोड़े कंसर्नस है कैनेडियंस के उन्होंने हाईलाइट किया और गलबात की कि कैनेडियंस अज की डेट से जोड़े रिफ्यूजीज आए हैं वो स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं, जोड़े कैनेडियंस है मॉर्गेज तो स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं, इन्फ्लेशन बहुत हाई है। ईवन दो बैंक ऑफ कैनेडा ने कहा कि असी 2.8 की इन्फ्लेशन डाउन करती है लेकिन स्टिल ग्रोसरी प्राइजेस हाई है और वक्-वक् मुद्दों पर उन्होंने गलबात की। असी देखते हैं पूरी प्रैस कॉन्फ्रेंस।
It's great to be here with you. We just finished a tour of a local factory where they're assembling the heavy machinery and parts that are needed for mining and pipelines and other industrial processes. And let me tell you, we have the greatest workers in the world, the very best people anywhere on planet Earth, and from all corners of the earth. We're blessed to have so many brilliant immigrants working so hard. And I was a little bit heartbroken to hear some of their stories, that they came here with high hopes and a dream and find that those dreams are dashed. After 8 years of Trudeau, life costs more, work doesn't pay, housing costs have doubled, and crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder now reign in our streets. As we've seen a mother the other day gunned down by a stray bullet fired out of the gun of an offender who had violated 16 different parole orders, but Trudeau's catch and release justice system turned him loose to kill another person. This is more and more common in our streets, and it must end. The good news is that Canada wasn't like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. We're going to bring home lower prices by axing the carbon tax. This carbon tax is now 14 cents a litre. Trudeau's plan is to raise it to 61 cents a litre. That will not only drive up heat and grocery bills, heat and gas bills, but also it will make food more expensive, because if you tax the farmers' fuel and the truckers' fuel, they have to pass those prices on to groceries. And that is why food is so expensive. So I will axe the tax to bring home lower prices. We'll also get interest rates down. Now, of course, it is the Bank of Canada that sets interest rates, but the Government of Canada sets the environment. And these monstrous deficits through which Trudeau has doubled our national debt, they put pressure on inflation and on interest rates. By balancing the budget, we can bring home lower inflation and lower interest rates, and I will do that by eliminating waste and mismanagement, ending the bonuses for incompetent executives like the ones paid out just the other day to the Bank of Canada and to the Infrastructure Bank, by cutting back on contracting and consulting fees, by ending wasteful initiatives like the hunting rifle buyback. And by bringing in a dollar-for-dollar law that requires politicians find $1 of savings for each new dollar of spending. That way we can balance the budget, which will allow us to bring down inflation and interest rates. That will bring home lower prices. We're also going to make work pay again. It doesn't pay to work hard in Canada anymore. All the taxes and clawbacks chew up your paycheck. So you go out and earn an extra $1, and your child benefit is clawed back. Then you pay income tax, and then payroll tax, and gas tax and carbon tax to get to work. We're punishing work. We should reward work. A Poilievre government will cut income taxes and reform the clawbacks so people bring home more of each dollar they earn, and hard work actually pays off. And we need everybody to have an excellent wage doing the job for which they're qualified. And that is why I will remove the gatekeepers and allow our brilliant immigrants to work in their professions. We have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses banned from working in our hospitals because they have no way of proving whether they're qualified. In the trades, this is not a problem. Today we just met these trades workers, many of them were immigrants, but they had a simple way to prove their qualifications. It's called the Red Seal exam. There's no Blue Seal exam for the professions, so you have to go through a whole winding maze of bureaucracy that can take 7 or 8 years, cost too much money, and condemn brilliant, educated immigrants to low-wage jobs forever. I'm proposing the federal government work with the provinces to create a Blue Seal testing standard so that immigrants can write a test, prove they are qualified, and get to work. The ambassador from the Philippines told me that only 11% of Filipino nurses in Canada are allowed to practice. In the States, they can write an international nursing exam and get to work within weeks. Why don't we bring that kind of a national exam to Canada, let them get a blue seal, and then they can work anywhere in the country, having proven they're qualified. We could bring tens of thousands of doctors and nurses into the system that way. We're going to bring homes that people can afford. Right now, Canada's housing costs have doubled after 8 years of Trudeau. Rent has doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, and of course, the needed down payment has doubled. Our housing is almost double the cost as in the United States. When it comes to housing and Trudeau, it's double trouble. We need more houses. And the answer is to speed up permitting. The cost of government permits and the associated bureaucracy and taxes works out to almost $400,000 for every new home in Toronto, and $1 million for every new home in Vancouver. So the cities have got to speed up and lower the cost of these permits. I'm going to require cities speed up and lower cost of permits. I'll require they permit 15% more home building per year, or they'll lose their federal grants. But those that beat the 15% target will get a building bonus. I'll also require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for high-density sky-rise apartments so that young people and seniors can live right next to the bus or train. And I'm going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and tens of thousands of federal acres of unused land to build hundreds of thousands of new affordable homes. We need to bring homes people can afford, and we need to bring in more skilled trade immigrants, a special accelerated stream for building trades workers sponsored by employers and unions to come here and help us build those houses. Finally, we want those homes to be in safe neighborhoods. Crime is raging out of control. The catch and release policies of Justin Trudeau, which he passed in Bill C-75, have led to the crime wave we see today. The same violent offenders are released over and over again. In fact, as I said earlier, the killer who killed that beautiful mother just the other day near the drug injection site, he had violated 16 different parole orders. 16. Why is he released again after 6? We are all for a second chance. A young person makes a mistake. Maybe they get in a bar fight. Give them a second chance. But I'm not in favor of 150 chances. But ironically, in Vancouver, the same 40 people were arrested 6,000 times. 6,000 arrests for 40 people. That's 150 arrests per offender. If you just took those 40 people off the streets, you'd have 6,000 fewer crimes. That's 6,000 fewer people shot, stabbed, hit with a baseball bat. We can bring home safe streets. Canada wasn't like this 8 years ago. We had safe streets. But Justin Trudeau's policies have given us danger. I will also ban hard drugs, stop these tent cities. Instead, we'll put people in treatment and recovery so that we can bring them home drug-free. We need to unite our country around freedom, and that's why I'm also going to repeal the censorship laws like C-11 so that your businesses can thrive. I don't believe that the CRTC should censor you or decide which media organizations are promoted and which are demoted. It should be determined by the click, not the clique. Everyday viewers, readers, and listeners should decide what they watch, and there should be a free market for information. And that's what we will restore when I am Prime Minister. This is all common sense. It's the common sense of the common people united for our common home. Now let's bring it home. Thank you.
I'm Anand Gupta from Road Today and South Asian Unlimited Radio. My question is related to the bloated bureaucracy.
Right.
We read reports that federal government has hired more and more bureaucrats who in turn are opening the government funds to costly consultants for running government operations.
Yes.
But at the same time, in spite of all those investments, so-called investments in bureaucrats, ordinary people are not getting their services done in time. You look at delays at passports, you look at delays at a newcomer getting a SIN, he has to wait for hours and hours, and then their SIN cards are not issued in time. We don't get our PR cards renewed in time. So how will your government, when you are in power, make a big difference? Are you going to put a hiring freeze to those bloated bureaucracy, or what magic wand would you bring to bring relief to ordinary taxpayers? Thank you.
So there's no magic law, magic wand, but there is a law I will pass. It's called the dollar for dollar law that requires the government find $1 of savings for each new dollar of spending. What that would do is it would force the heads of the departments to say, okay, well, if I'm going to hire somebody over here, I have to find savings over there. If I'm going to contract out to a high-priced consultant, well, I'm going to have to eliminate some bureaucracy somewhere else to cover it. They won't be able to simply stack more bureaucracy on top of existing bureaucracy on top of contracting out. The bureaucracy has grown by 40% in 8 years. That's just the personnel. The cost has grown by over 50%. So you're paying 50% more for federal bureaucracy than you were when Trudeau took office. And on top of that, he's contracting the work out. So you've got all these bureaucrats supposedly hired to run the government, more than ever before. Then he's saying that they're not enough, so I'm going to then contract out to consultants to do the same work. We're now spending $21 billion a year on consultants. That works out to $1,400 for every family in Canada. That's an increase of over 100% in 8 years. So what are you getting? You're paying 50% more for the bureaucracy and 100% more for consultants, all to deliver government services. Have your government services improved? You can't get a passport. The immigration system is a total mess. They can't manage the borders. They can't keep stolen cars in or drugs and guns out. So we're paying more for worse. The answer is to instill discipline in the system and require the bureaucracy find $1 of savings for each new dollar of spending. That's what a single mother does. You know, if she wants to build a new patio for the family, she passes up on the vacation, or she gets a deal on the lumber and a deal on the vacation and does both of them within the budget. That's what a small business does. But government has no incentive to keep costs down because it's just easier to pass the bill to the taxpayer, because the bureaucrat making the decision doesn't pay the price. It's someone else's money. You need to pass a law to discipline the bureaucracy to live within its means, and often you can do better for less. Let me give you one quick example. When I was Employment and Social Services Minister, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind came to me and said, you're sending these discs out with audiobooks on them, CDs, so that blind people could listen to the book. And they said, we're not using CD players anymore. So why don't you get rid of that? And we have a technology where you can actually email a copy of the audiobook. And by the way, why don't you sign a deal to waive copyright with other English-speaking countries, so that if they have a recording of a book that we don't have, and we have a recording of a book that they don't have, we can share them. What did we manage to do? We increased the number of books available to the blind in Canada by 400%, and we cut the cost of the program by 80% because we weren't mailing around CDs. So you can actually deliver better for less if you apply some common sense in the system. And that's what I will do as Prime Minister.
Thank you.
That was a very beautiful chime there.
Next
Thank
in
you.
line, sir.